Welcome to the Sacred Journey podcast. I am your host, Jackie Zabalza.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Sacred Journey podcast. And today it's an extra special, extra beautiful day because we get to have a beautiful group of incredible individuals come together and remember Keith Wilson, also known as the Cacao Shaman by many people around the world. So today we're coming here sort of as a request from a lot of you listeners out there who've been listening to the podcast with Keith that we had last year, which happened to be also his last interview. I've received so many messages from people all over the world, people who personally met him. And I'm already feeling a little emotional, so I might cry a few times in the podcast, but a lot of people who already met him, and we're just so thankful to have this recording and this video, but also a lot of people who never met him in person and got to see his interviews. And they wrote to me asking that they wanted to know from me and from other people who met him personally and studied directly with him. They wanted to know how it was like to be in Keith's presence, to learn directly from him. They wanted to know the personal stories, kind of like get a little bit in the knowing of how it was to be when Keith was alive and to have met him. So I brought this incredible group of human beings, and I'm so deeply inspired by each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining. Ananda is actually the woman that introduced me to cacao and my yoga teacher training. So, oh my God, I love you so much. And we actually in Keith's last interview, we spoke about you. Like it's so anybody who listened to that episode, we're speaking about Ananda. And she's like one of the most incredible humans I've ever met. And I love Ananda so much. Literally has impacted my life completely to have known you. She introduced me to this whole world, yoga, cacao, plant medicine, everything. So I'm really excited for my community to get to know you more. And yeah. And then Andrew over here, oh, my little Andrew Ferry is like such a dear, sweet soul. One of the most magical beings. Every time I'm around you, I just feel the magic all around. You're always smiling. You're always spreading beauty and joy, and everything you do is so dedicated. It's like the artist in you is so alive, and the inner child in you is always so alive. So I just want to thank the purity of your heart, and also because you've knew Keith for so long and you were like direct learning from him, I really feel like your share is going to be so special for us. And oh my goodness, Emily, I, my heart. Emily is like the ultimate fairy. That's how I like to introduce her. She's the ultimate fairy, the embodiment of, oh my goodness, like just thinking about you, like look at me. I'm already smiling, I'm already laughing. We've had so many incredible adventures all over the world. And the last one that I remember in Avalon when we went together, I just felt this like I feel like I saw you in your full fairiness in the fairyland. And Emily is just another incredible sister, teacher, like inspiration in my life. I've also known you as long as I've known Ananda. You you also you introduced me to, well, you didn't introduce me, but you initiated me to Reiki Master. So I owe you that. Like that, I come from that lineage of Emily. She's an incredible individual. She does breath work, teaches breath work all over the world in yoga teacher trainings. And again, just like the most joyful, enlightened, like more, how do you say, like, this word leaves me, but it's like I think of Emily and everything is light. Everything is easy flowing. Everything will always work out when you're with Emily. Magic will happen and doors will open in the most magical ways when you're with her, because that's the frequency that you carry, ultimate magic and beauty. So this is the group of people that we have today. And one thing that we have the most in common is cacao. And it's that we all knew Keith very deeply. So thank you again. I love you all so much. And now we will begin this conversation. So everybody, before we continue, everybody listening, if you want, and if you wish, this is a good time to place pause and maybe you're going to make yourself a little cup of cacao because we will begin opening the space and Ananda Ma is going to guide us into a cacao invocation, cacao opening to open this conversation in memory of Keith Wilson. So, okay. All right, so I leave it to you, Ananda.
Thank you, my love.
Mm.
What an honor to be able to have this day to be able to remember this beautiful master teacher that is Keith Wilson, the chocolate shaman. So for those of you who have cacao, I invite you to bring it close to you, and you may want to light a candle or a smudge stick. I'm going to offer a little tobacco to my cacao before we begin. And starting to feel into our own personal intentions for our time with this plant spirit medicine, this divine teacher of cacao. We bring the essence of the cacao to our hearts, and we feel her spirit to spirit, heart to heart, inviting a deep cleansing breath in and releasing a cleansing breath out, showing up in presence, in honor, and in reverence. And drawing upon the teachings of Keith, we ask for our heart center to open up to this space by bringing a smile into the heart, feeling what a smile feels like in the heart center with this cacao placed before it. The potentiality, the opening, the future self, all the infinite possibilities that are available to us now. And we draw the energies in from the earth and the sky, bringing them into the heart. From that energy, we gently blow into our cacao our own spirit. Again, taking a deep breath in from earth and sky, feeling the essence of the mother grounding and supporting us, and the essence of the father enlivening and lightening us. As we draw that into the heart, we exhale this light and love and support into our cacao. And one last time, as we draw from earth and sky, we feel the heavens, we feel matter, we feel all that surrounds us in all ways, all of humanity within us, and know that we have an impact with every breath, drawing that into the heart and placing that into your cacao with your last breath. And as the cacao sits at the heart, feeling your own self, your own inner self as a pillar of light, and noticing if there's anywhere in your body that needs attention from this cacao, any healing, any transformation, any guidance. And we ask the light that lives within us, the light from the source of all that is, to show us how to work with any dense energies, with any misalignments, and to bring that into this experience with our cacao today. We honor you, dear Keith. We honor you as a father, a grandfather, a brother, a teacher. We hold you in the highest regard. And as we come to drink our cacao, we know that our hearts sit with yours still, that you live within us, and that you reside in a place of all-knowing. May you continue to teach us, continue to guide us with your love and your light and your joy. From this place of awareness, from this place of light, moving through any obstacles, transmuting it into light, we open this sacred space with the brilliant medicine and teachings of cacao. We thank you. Aho.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Mm. Thank you so much, Ananda Mom.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, Cacao. Thank you, Keith.
thank you. It's like immediately as I feel cacao in my hands, I'm already joyful. So, yeah. Hi, Emily. There.
Hello. Thank you so much. Just so beautiful to, as I was hearing this evocation, it reminded me that really cacao was the first plant medicine on my plant medicine path. To have this reverence for something that we're bringing into our bodies, it's always an amazing reminder for me to have that.
Mm. All right, so as we continue to drink our cup of cacao, and for everybody at home, we'll open the conversation and keep remembering Keith Wilson. I was just sharing with everybody here in the phone call how right before starting this recording, this conversation, I lit a candle to set my personal intention for the conversation, and I call in the spirit of Keith. And it's so funny because since a few days ago, when I decided to create this call, I wasn't feeling emotional. I was more like excited. And as soon as I lit the candle, I felt this overwhelming feeling of his presence, like he was right next to me. And I couldn't stop crying for like a good 5 minutes at least. But it was like tears of joy, tears of gratitude, tears of, and I was letting them know too, like how everybody here on this call, Ananda, Emily, Andrew, are such important people in my life. I've known you all, some of you for over 10 years, some maybe less, but everybody has created such a huge impact in my life. And beyond these people here, like everybody I met in Guatemala, and the one thing that brought us together in a way, a lot of us, was cacao. It was like when I went to Guatemala, it was because Ananda told me like, oh, this is where the Cacao Shaman lives. And I was like, okay, I need to meet this famous Keith Wilson. And that's what brought me to Guatemala. And then I met a whole new world that completely changed my life. And this quality of people that we have in this call is like a lot of this kind of people live in this lake. And what draw most people, maybe not everybody, but most people, was cacao. And the Keith was living in this place in Guatemala. So I was just like feeling so grateful for all the gifts that having met Keith and obviously cacao has brought into my life and all of our lives. So yeah, with that shared, I'm opening the conversation if anybody wants to begin speaking about how you met Keith, what it was to be with him when he was alive, the lessons that you learned from him, and we'll open it like that, and we'll continue to flow in that way. Yeah.
I'll share.
Mm.
And I had been drawn to go to Guatemala in 2009 through the Moon Course, which is Las Pyramides, which is a place that is also a big draw for people to go to San Marcos. And during that Moon Course, we were invited to go have a cacao ceremony with Keith on this hill. And for those that know San Marcos, it would have been in the nature reserve, so the Mayan site at the top of the nature reserve.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really new, I would say, in my awakening path at that point. Like I considered myself a baby. And so during this program, we went up with Keith and we drank some cacao. There it is right there, if you've got this on video. That dragon's head. When he served it, we were in the forest. You know, he had a big vat of chocolate, of brown liquid that then we proceeded to add our cayenne and our brown sugar, and that was it. It was brown water. It wasn't like these elaborate cacao with over 10 ingredients that we're all making today. Very simple times. It was before cacao was known as a cacao ceremony throughout the world. And so I was really open, and we drank the brown water, the cacao. And he really, it was so beautiful to see how he honored the spirit so strongly. And that's really what I take from his teachings, is that this cacao is such a beautiful spirit. And in that ceremony, a friend of mine early on started crying. And I remember I was like, what's going on? And Keith came over and asked me to put my hand somewhere on his body to support. And in a way, it felt like had turned into a healing session that was beyond. And at that point in my life, I was just like blown away. I was like, well, what's happening here? I'm not sure, but this is beautiful. And that's all I could digest in that moment. And I will never forget that. And that, my path has led me much further along since then. But I go back to that moment in the forest of really, emotional release and heart opening. And often cacao is a heart opening for humanity. And that's one of the teachings that I really appreciate with Keith, is he followed the spirit. This is how he followed the spirit of cacao into the forest, into the Guatemalan jungle, and heard from the spirit to bring cacao to the world to help open the hearts of humanity. And from that moment, that's really what I got to witness, was that vulnerability and the emotions that moved when that heart opened. So that was my first moment with him.
Thank you so much. It's so beautiful. As you were telling the story, I feel like I was there with you, with him sharing the cacao for the first time. One of the things that you mentioned at the end of like how it was his role to bring cacao back from the forest. In the interview that I did with him, for those of the people listening who don't know, when I interviewed Keith, and you can go and watch and listen to that episode. It's in the podcast, in Sacred Journey podcast. I didn't know it was going to be my last time that I was going to sit with him. I didn't know this was going to be his last interview. And I remember he really opened up a lot. Like we both cried multiple times during the interview. Some parts made it to the final podcast and some parts didn't. But one of the things I remember really impacted me was that he shared with me, and I had never heard that. I have known him for over 10 years, but I had never heard that specific part where he was born on a 1 Achpu, which is in the Mayan calendar, a 1 Achpu day. And when he passed away, it was, now I'm getting more clarity, it was like like midnight between January 13 and January 14 of 2024. And I guess his last day alive was also a 1 Achpu. So his first day alive was 1 Achpu and his last day was 1 Achpu. And the reason why this is relevant, and I found this information during the interview, is that according to the Mayan people, in the Popol Vuh, the person who brought cacao into the world, he was a 1 Achpu. And I don't remember the name of the person in the Popol Vuh, but when he shared that with me, I remember I had so many chills. And I was like, wow, you were born that day. And one of the reasons why he was sharing this is because, okay, I guess I'm going to get a little more deep into another more sensitive subject. But before we started the interview, a few days before, I'm going to get emotional. Keith was sharing with me. He was very vulnerable with me, and he was crying. He was hurt in the fact that the last previous years of his life, he had been receiving a lot of attacks from people calling him out for cultural appropriation and all of these things. People had never met him most of the time just because he was white. And for those people who never met him, you can listen to the podcast and like hear more of his background story. But when he mentioned that, he was saying that eventually cacao found him, like the spirit of Cacao found him and took him on this journey to bring her out of the forest. And it was this Mayan elders, it was his friends that were Mayan elders who brought to his awareness that his mission in life was to bring Cacao back into the world, all the way to the point that he was born in a Wanakpu day. And when he shared that, I was like, oh, like, Cacao shows him. And the fact that he shows a man in like a white man, I thought it was also important and it was significant. I don't think anything is a coincidence. Because yes, we lost a lot of this ancient wisdom through colonization, through the white people arriving, and we understand the pain of that, and we can honor it and we can sit with it. And simultaneously, Keith's heart was pure and Keith's heart was like in the right place. And he was a man of integrity, and we all got to know him for decades. We got all to witness the impact that he did in the Mayan communities around him, how much he supported the Mayan families where he was living, how like even people like Isaías Mendoza, who's now Tata Isaías, the Mayan, like now the main Mayan carrier of cacao at the lake that has merged cacao with indigenous Mayan ceremonies, learned from Keith. So I also made a beautiful interview that has not been released yet. It's coming up with Isaías, where he gets to tell us his personal story. So everybody listening now, like stay in tune because it's coming up in a couple of weeks. And so I remember when he told me, when I was speaking with Keith about these things, we both were crying because I thought it was so unfair the way some people were treating him back in the day. But when he passed away on a Wanakpu, I was mind blown because I was like, if there was any doubt, like by like anybody in our mind, in the universe shows for him to pass away on a Wanakpu again to kind of reaffirm his role, that even if he was in a white skin, I think it was purposely done by the universe. You know how it's like the universe is a joker? It's like, yeah, the white people took away from us these ancient traditions, but then it was a white person who was meant to bring it back to us in a way. So I just wanted to share that right now, right here, because when you were speaking about, you mentioned something, it brought me back to that memory. And I want to honor that fact too, that he was born, his first day on the earth was a Wanakpu, and his last day on earth was a Wanakpu. Keith, the Cacao Shaman. Okay. Anybody else wants to share?
Such a master. A master.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like so honored that we all got to meet him in person and we all got to learn from him, get to know how he was in real life. And I guess one more thing I want to share very briefly. After I released the podcast, I received immense amount of messages of people feeling so much gratitude, being like, oh my God, you have no idea how much I missed Keith, and this podcast really helped me. And oh my God, I never met him, but this really impacted me. But I also got messages of other people that were very angry that I was supporting a white man. And I wanted to say that this here because I think part of this conversation is to clarify a lot of the misconceptions that people have had about Keith in the past, especially those who never met him, because these comments usually came from people who never met him and that were making assumptions based on superficial understanding of him, just literally based on his skin color. And I feel like Keith, first of all, was like one of the most humble people that I ever met. Some people that wrote to me, they were like, see, you're supporting a capitalist white person. I don't know, those random things. And I'm like, if you got to see how Keith used to live, like he always lived, like go back and watch that interview and people can see the room where we were at. We were in a little shack. That was his house. That was like his backyard. And yeah, maybe he did have the most important cacao business that he brought awareness back to cacao. He did so much research. He personally founded so much scientific research. So a lot of the information that we have on cacao now is available to us based on his personal foundings. But yes, maybe he did have a great business, but most of that money went back to the Mayan families, went back to support those families in Guatemala. he wasn't living in a luxurious life. That he was a humble man. He wasn't doing this for the money, y'all. Like, this is what, like, these are some things that I felt very passionate to clarify because I didn't feel it was fair. A lot of the misconceptions that a lot of people have. And I thought it was so important for all of us to, yeah, remember all the beautiful things, but for people to get to hear from people who met him in person how he was, how was he living his everyday life. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that reminds me of a time because later in sort of before he passed, I was going to his house, his shack. It literally was a shack for one-to-one sessions, for personal sessions with him. And I remember one of the last sessions I went to with him, he was so excited because he'd just come back from a soccer game, football, soccer game that he had supported. It was a Guatemalan girls soccer team that he supported. And he spoke to me for 5 to 10 minutes in pure excitement of that experience and how these girls get to do this. And that's to me is how I remember is his generous heart. Very, very generous with the local community. And that's how I want people to see him and remember him is that generosity.
Yes. Thank you, Emily. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah, Ananda.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how, really his teachings were so much about love and light and empowerment and joy. It's like, how can that be wrong? To really have somebody that is living that in their heart and teaching that from a place of known wisdom,
Mhm.
feels like that's a person on this planet that we want to raise up, rather than to shut down. And I know he struggled with that at times, and he also shared that with me. And he would call it the toxic cacao story.
Yeah.
That there were, energies and people and different types of groups around that thought that, his work was toxic, or that, there's toxicity in uh cacao from like the raw food standpoint. And he would talk a little bit about that. And I remember him saying that, is it actually that the raw food, or that the raw foodists think that it is toxic, or is it their representation or their programming or their stories about cacao being toxic that is actually toxic? And so
Mm.
it kind of falls into that same line of like when people are choosing to admonish somebody perhaps for not being of the appropriate aligned culture or background or color of their skin, that somehow then it's not for them to be passing on these messages of love, light, gratitude, joy, peace, And yet, I think that the toxicity actually comes from that. There's harm in keeping each other down, when there's such beautiful messages to be heard and to be received. And his messages really were about love and about healing. And, he really talked about learning from love and receiving through love and healing through love. And I think if that's what we want to bring up in our cultures, and if that's what we're looking toward in our future, he would talk about we are this next wave of generation that's coming through, and we are the teachers that are here to wake up on this planet. And in that, we have a responsibility then to get through this training so that we can help teach others. And I think, as these spiritual midwives, as he would call it, it's up to us then to really carry this in a high regard, regardless of our color of our skin or what the culture is or the background that we come from is, because it's really, it's pure spirit. And this is what we're referring to when we work with the medicine of cacao. And I think that that doesn't belong to anybody. And so to have the understanding that we all carry the teachings, we all carry the wisdom, and those of us who are in this second wave and here and now in this time, we do have a responsibility to carry it in a good way and to help this consciousness be born. And so I really thank him for those messages. And I think that ultimately then it becomes his students' responsibility to carry forth these messages without feeling condemnation or without feeling, resistance from whatever types of opinions might be out there, because the teachings of love will override everything. And I really feel like that is the message of the spirit of cacao, and was that of Keith's as well. So I'm really happy to be carrying it forward.
Yeah. I love that so much. It's so true because at the end of the day, that's cacao. It's the medicine of love. And her purpose is to unify us, to like bring us back into that heart coherence. So as long as we are all in, like, I think we need to check on ourselves. Like, where are we coming from? Why are we doing this? Are we doing it from a desire to be in service for the love of cacao, or are we doing it because we want fame, money, etc.? But that's everybody's internal journey, because there is a lot of people out there misusing cacao. So we need to acknowledge that as well. And there's a lot of like popularity right now. So I understand the anger of a lot of people, specifically in the Mayan communities or the indigenous communities. I understand it. And also we need to be aware that just because some white people are misusing this medicine doesn't mean that just because you're white, you automatically are to be assumed to be misusing and any medicine or any spiritual belief. So thank you for sharing that, Ananda. And okay, so now let's continue with remembering Keith and like what it was like. Maybe if Andrew or Ananda want to share how you met Keith and what were the main things you learned from him that are still relevant in your life.
Share a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, I I think I met Keith through a block of cacao before I even knew who he was. I was living at this little retreat center on an island in Canada, and somehow just cacao came into the field, and I didn't know, like I knew what it was. I knew it was like the raw form of chocolate, uninterrupted chocolate, and decided to, yeah, just get a brick and send it to the island. And I just felt like something kind of came over me. I felt like this was something that I needed to be doing for some reason, even though I didn't know what was about to happen. We just chopped up this brick of cacao, poured it in some hot water, blended it. We sat down in this yurt with all the members of this retreat center I was working at the time. And then I just put on the most shanty, soft music ever, and I immediately got goosebumps and started sweating. And I was like, what's going on? And I think it was literally in that moment when I first started to like feel what channeling was, or what being a vessel was, or what that even meant, like letting higher power, letting spirit like really move me and speak through me and make through me and facilitate and hold space, whatever that even meant at the time, you know. And yeah, I just sat and I just felt this incredible like warm glow, literally like a warm, glowing, sweating goosebumps, like angel presence. And yeah, just started to pray, like almost maybe for the first time ever. Um, and then my friend said, okay, why haven't you been to Guatemala yet? I said, there was this postcard on the fridge in the retreat center in the kitchen. There was of these volcanoes here. And I was like, what's up with these volcanoes? And he was like, why haven't you been there yet? Like, what are you talking about? So a couple months later, like booked a one-way trip with a partner at the time. We came here within like a week. We were sitting on the hill down to his porch, just like sitting in the sun, waiting for him to open the door, just like sweating. And yeah, we just all sat down, and yeah, we had the brown water and the little canela, or the panela, brown sugar molasses, like so sweet, cayenne pepper. And then he comes out, Barbara comes out, they do the bathroom spiel as we're all drinking, very unofficial, just like, here, enjoy. And then like within 30 minutes, like clockwork, he like sits down, something comes in, and then he like starts, channeling. He looks at someone, and then he said, like, what's up with your mother? Like, what's going on with your mother? Not to me, but to someone else. And then she started crying. And then similar with Emily, it was like there was this emotional field that was being felt, and he was kind of like steering this ship, like cosmic interwoven, yeah, healing session, ceremony. And yeah, everyone just dropped in, and then this person was feeling this, and this person was crying over here, but it was also connected to this person's like past life, and then this person's being invited to like hold this person's head, and this person's like, yeah, it was a whole beautiful constellation that had a clear beginning and duration and beautiful conclusion and like offering at the end, and everyone who made it, the 5, 6, 7, 8, sometimes 9 hours of the
Yeah.
was just like so supposed to be there and so receiving exactly what they needed in every single moment. And it was just like a beautiful microcosm of the macrocosm of life, which is what I realized that porch was and in front of this little shack. And yeah, I just remember one of the first things he said to me, it was again my partner and I at the time, we were sitting on the bench, like right across from him basically, and he just looks at us and he's like, "You two are very powerful." And then it was like a whole thing. And I was like, what? What do you mean? What did I do? Like, what do you see? Tell me, you know? And yeah, it always just felt like for the first couple years almost like this, yeah, this energy for me at least of tell me more. What do you see? You know? And then like towards the last couple years of his life, it was for me this felt sensation of like, what can I see? What it was just yeah, I feel like this empowering process of him helping me see more, helping me feel more. He was like empowering me to empower myself, which is, I feel like what was happening on that porch consistently, like seeing people who are maybe not in their power or feeling less than magical, less than whole, less than something. And he can feel it and detect it, and then he just goes for it. He's like, why are you holding back? And where's that story? Like, what did your mom say when you were 4 that like prevented you from really living your fullest expression? Like, do you want to remove that? Should we do psychic surgery? Calling in the Lemurian, like, it was such a like fast-paced, gorgeous, like spiritual surgery of these things that we didn't even know we were holding on to, or these programs that were like imprinted upon us from such a young age, or a past life, or it's such a mystery. Like you never knew what you were gonna get when you walked in, and but we always were better for it, even if we were so tired and we had too many cacao cookies that Isaias delivered, and then we had to go bag the cacao like in an hour, and it was just like, can I go get some pupusas first? No, we have to, no, like it was all so perfectly orchestrated and such a teaching that, I mean, continues to live so generously and fully in my being. And I've had like a few deaths in my life, but for some reason, when he passed, I felt like his spirit was so close and I could like almost feel and see and hear him like even more than when I was like physically in front of him. It was like the strangest, most gorgeous experience like of during his transition weeks. And I just like continue in this last week or so specifically, like just seeing this huge grin. And I just keep hearing him say like magic bus or struggle bus, magic bus or struggle bus.
I love that.
Yeah, choose wisely, but like you can choose, only you can choose, and you're always choosing. So like, can we bring more consciousness into our choices? And yes, we can. Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's Keith.
I love it. You brought up so many memories, like of being at his porch, and oh my goodness, I wanna share a little memory that came to me too. So
Yeah,
for those of you who never went to Keith's cacao ceremony, he would open up his home twice a week, I think every Sunday, every Wednesday for years, for decades, for anybody to come in and sit with him and drink cacao. And he will like start channeling this like I don't even know cosmic beings, and he just so tapped in, such a like psychic person. But one of the things that you mentioned that I feel like it's one of the things that I got from him, he always like gave us so much permission to be ourselves. And he was the first person that I heard speaking about empaths and to bring awareness like this is what an empath is, how they look like, how they function. And I was like, oh, that's what I've been my whole life. And pretty much he was the one that made me realize like there's nothing wrong with me. I just have different skills. I have different gifts that I haven't learned how to use. And yeah, the world has made me judge me as like something wrong with me, but there's actually something here for me to learn. And there was like an empowering energy about him that he will like see you. He will like just like even without knowing you, he will sit in front of you, or you will be like in a group of people, sometimes in the porch, in like a tiny one, there will be like 50, 60 people all cramped in, sitting on the floor, just like waiting to hear the cacao shaman. And he did look like a wizard, you know? So anyways, I remember one of the first ceremonies that I ever did with him in 2015, I believe, or 16. And the last time I saw him, it was always the same message. He probably didn't remember, but like it was like, believe in yourself. You have something powerful to share with the world. And it was like this very empowering message constantly, constantly of like find your medicine and like believe in it because the world needs it. The world needs you. And I feel like that was everybody that came across him. He will like see you and remind you of who you are, remind you of your power, and teach you and show you how, guide you into recovering that power and bring it back online. So you can actually be more confidently showing up in the world as you, knowing that there's nothing wrong with you. It's a full permission slip. And yeah, so I wanted to say that. Thank you.
One of my favorite things, and I actually call it empath training. I don't know if he ever
Yeah,
called it that, but
he called it
he
that.
did call it that because
Yeah.
that's how I perceived it, as empath training, and that is something that I practice and teach to this day.
Mhm.
And an example of what he did, what he offered on the porch, was that that as empaths we can feel and receive a lot, and that it's okay to feel it, and that the training is to move it, to move the energy to the sky or to the earth. And that to me was a huge lesson in energy. And I still transmit that through in my facilitator trainings because breathwork evokes a lot of feeling and release in people, and in Reiki trainings where it's like, yeah, we can feel this energy. It's okay to feel it. And then let's move it. Let's move it. So in on the porch that one time I remember he had us in training. So we were across from each other, and one would share a story and the other would feel it, and then we would send the energy up or down, and then we would switch. And I really felt that when I was sharing and the other person helped move that energy, that something shifted inside of me. And so he was really teaching us how to be better humans.
Hmm. I have a funny story to share with that. One of the funniest porch moments that I got to witness, because he will always pick someone, like in the crowd, he'll like know exactly who to pick, but somehow that person's thing will align with everybody else. And that day, he picked this woman. It was a couple. It was a woman that was in her period, and he was having a fight with her partner. So he put both of them in front, and he was making her like Keith was making him feel what she was feeling. And at a moment, this guy was literally in the floor, like being like, ah, because he could feel apparently the cramps and like the emotions and everything that a woman goes through when we go through our menstrual cycle. And he was literally, please forgive me. Like it was at some point, it was funny, like we were all laughing, but at some point, all the women in the room were crying because we felt like seen by the masculine. The guy was like, please forgive me that I never understood you. Like now I get it, like how can I support you? And he was like apparently physically also feeling the pain emotionally and everything that the woman that was feeling. But that was one of the funny empath moments that I got to witness at the porch that I will never forget. Yeah, it's still there as part of my my memories of Keith. Mm.
Yeah, I just want to add too. I mean, I feel like in these stories, as we hear each other, it's like the wizardry that he would create and cultivate and like weave through on his porch was just outstanding. Like I don't think I've ever seen anybody else work in that particular way. And I remember, going back to Mexico after being on the porch with him for about 6 weeks, and It was like, how can I do what Keith does? Because he was very empowering. He was like, you need to take this cacao home. You need to start incorporating it. He didn't say need to, but he was very, encouraging that the cacao could be used in so many different ways, and that it was for me to explore how to bring it into my world. And so he was like, bringing it into your yoga classes, bring it into your chakra meditations, whatever you feel, but start to use it. And I went home and I was just like, I was very excited. And then I got there and I thought, I don't know what to do. I'm not an empath. Like, I can't do what he does. I can't see, into what's going on with each person and call them forward and ask about, the particular issues from their past. Like, I'm not seeing the way that he does. And I remember having a conversation with him that wasn't in the physical realm of how I could do it on my own. And this is something about Keith, I think, that is really beautiful. He was like, you're not going to do it my way, you're going to do it your way. So figure out what that is and start to offer that. And the reality is it's not going to happen for you until you have really done your due diligence to connect to the spirit of cacao. Like, nothing happens without that connection. And so that's what needs to be cultivated first and foremost, is that relationship of how you're going to work with the spirit. And the spirit will show you how to work with people that are in the space that you're facilitating. And so that was a really great lesson from him. And I do remember on the porch, I sat with him a lot of times on the porch, but I also did a lot of private sessions with him. And those one-on-ones were where I really feel like a big part of my evolution happened. And this was just the year after Emily had been there in 2009. She came back to Mexico, where we both worked at Present Moment together. And she's like, you need to go to Guatemala and go to this lake. And I ended up going and spending much more time than I had intended, which is what usually happens for all of us.
Yeah.
Uh, but I was there in 2010 and I had a good amount of time with him, at least those twice a week sessions on the porch. Plus, I would always do an individual session with him once a week. So I have journal entries upon journal entries of all these beautiful awakenings that were coming at the time. And I wanted to share one of the things that I felt like was probably the most impactful for me, which I still use to this day, just like, you were sharing, Emily, about the work that you do now in breath work and how that empathic training has been so valuable. I think one of the other pieces that he would teach a lot, and I remember personally him sharing with me, was how to work with negativity and how to, bring up our own light. He would say, as far as the empathic work, he would say, like, read the pages, but don't eat the book. And so it was like, you've got all these things coming at you. It could be negative, it could be positive, but you get to choose by reading the pages and discerning what it is that you want to take in. You don't just swallow the book and then you're stuck with that. And now you have to spend, a good amount of time doing your healing and releasing that energy to the earth or the sky or whatever methods we've been taught. But he would share that, the vulnerability that we have as empaths allows us to receive so much. And when that comes to us, it was like a practice, like a training to take on more than we think we can handle. So he would ask us, first to bring on like the negativity or this energy at a tenfold level, and then bring it on at 100-fold. And it was like, whatever energy is coming for you, like, bring on more of it, and know that it doesn't have to touch you internally, that there's a light inside of you that is always holding the essence of purity, and that energy, he described it as like this pulsating, radiating field around our aura that was holding energy to take care of the details for us. So that means that we don't have to try to decipher it or figure it out. Like, we can feel into what it is that's coming through, and we can decide, okay, that's going to move, that's going to move. But knowing that for the most part, it's the light within us that is deciding for us. It's that light that gets to support us in this process. And when we create that field of unconditional love around us, it's like we can trust now that all the details are being tended to for us. And so when energies do come at us, whether it's negative or whether it just feels like too much for that moment, we get to bring forth that light. And this is where his go to glow came from, I think, as well. It's like we call upon the light or the glow within ourselves to expend energy outward that meets that other energy that might be negative or dense or just out of alignment at that moment, and it gets to dissolve or transmute or shift or change or remove. It doesn't matter what it does to the energy, but it's the trust that we have in the light within ourselves that is the most important aspect of doing this kind of work. And for many of us who are healers and or like doing healing work or yoga teachers or massage therapists or Reiki practitioners, medicine carriers, we really need to cultivate that light in our own hearts and let that come, from that place. When we opened this cacao journey, it was like calling from earth and sky, bringing it to the heart and then letting that glow flow through every cell of our being. And that's the healing to me. That's the key. To the work that we're here to do is to trust the light within ourselves to manage the details of everything else around us. And that way we can let it come through, we can move it where it needs to go, and we don't have to use the mind so much to decide what to do with it, but we can trust that the heart is our discerning tool. Yeah.
Wow, it's powerful. Thank you for that. Like that's something is going to be very helpful in my own journey. Thank you, Ananda. Um, Beautiful. So anybody else wants to share something? Like I know we already spoke a lot about what we learned, etc. But if we can each say like one of the main things that you feel has lived on from Keith's teachings that you have for the most route, like you were sharing, Ananda, the go to glow and all of this empathic work, we all got something. Or anything else that's very alive for you right now around knowing Keith. Hmm.
I feel like what's been super alive with me and with my relationship with him as it lives now, as I'm back here, um, is it's like this sensation of being bathed in possibility. That's the feeling. That's the sensation. Um, yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, I got here. I realized at the beginning, to the lake, at the beginning of the last 1 year, so the beginning, almost to the date, in 2017, and then we just finished and closed out the tail end of the 9 year, and it just feels like there's this next thing coming. And for some reason, towards the end of the year, I started witnessing my mind as I was like deep in the Canadian cold winter, like would wake up and it's like, is the sun setting already? My mind, for some reason, went into like limitation and lack and scarcity and then I get back here and like that immediately just dissolves because the teachings and the frequency is so illuminating here, and he is so here and just weaving. But um, yeah, he's just reminding me to stay in possibility. When there's something that comes online, like I want to try this, or I don't know if I can, or I don't know how to make it work, or will I have the resources or the energy or the capacity? He's like, you won't if you think you won't, but you will if you believe that you will. And yeah, it all just go for me. It just goes back to this grin that I just can't get out. I feel like he's like right here, just like smiling. He's like, very good, yes. Um, yeah, he's just really gotten me to, um, yeah, I guess tap into my own wizardry slash like conscious creatorship in this world, in this life, like in giving life a direction to flow in, because yeah, we're always, I feel like, choosing whether or not it feels like it, whether we wake up and we have like a pain or a something, or but like what do we do with that? We I think in the Go to Glow meditation, he's like, here's my advice, like just back off, stop working with it, stop trying to zap your density. There's already enough war in the world. Like, can you just like sit, blow, like let the medicine in. So then for me at least, I relax back into this space of possibility and positivity and yeah, opportunity to weave a beautiful life and day and moment and project or relationship or meal or whatever. Yeah. So just swimming in possibility with him lately.
I love that. Thank you, Andrew. I was thinking too, like, does everybody remember the magic bus? Like his meditations and the like quantum leaps? If anybody wants to share a little bit about that, like I just remember many of the times that he was like, let's get into the magic bus, everybody. And now there's all these possibilities, like Andrew was saying, and sort of like, where are you deciding? Where do you want to go? You can quantum leap into whatever reality. So yeah, Emily?
There's a quote that I came up with from Keith, actually, that I'd written down in one of my journals that had like popped back up into my awareness, and it's an incredible quote that really speaks to what Andrew was saying and to that. And you can imagine him saying this because this did come out of his mouth. It is absolutely impossible for the universe to bring you anything except a gift designed to take you to the next level.
Wow.
It's absolutely impossible for the universe to bring you anything except a gift designed to take you to the next level. And
Sometimes that gift doesn't look like a pretty thing, but no, like I love that reminder. Yeah.
well, and I think I feel like that's what it's all about, you know? Like I often was going to him with issues or problems that were coming up, and he would always help me to reframe this as a gift for my own evolution, that it's here to take me to the next level. Like I am going to the next level because I feel this. And so often it's very affirming because we do have challenges in life. That is normal and it's part of our evolution. And he would often reflect that back. And so a key teaching that I really took from him as well was that often humans are kind of playing out our evolution on in five different arenas of our life. And it feels like Andrew might might be like, yeah, I remember this. So it's like intimate relationship, family, and maybe you put friends in there, money, health, and creativity and purpose. So those five areas of life: intimate relationship, family, money, health, and creativity and purpose. Like that's really helped me to accept parts of myself and my growth throughout my life since I've known him. And to know that, oh yeah, this is when I was going through this phase where I was really struggling in this aspect of my life. And it makes sense because that was part of my evolution at that time. And now it's not really so much here, but it's in this phase. And it helps me to also see people that are coming to me, to see what container they're in. Like, oh, okay, there is a specific health challenge for this person. And, you know, like that's where they're playing their evolution out right now. It was such a powerful teaching for me because it helped me to, well, first of all, accept, you know, like, oh, like a lot of the time I was having lots of challenges when I was in Guatemala with intimate relationships. So I was going there and I couldn't help but compare myself to other people that were in that space, and then, you know, and then I would see someone that was in an amazing intimate relationship, but their challenge might have been money, you know, going through like the challenges of money, and just realizing we're all moving through these different parts of our life where we're playing out our evolution. And he really taught that deeply to me, and it's helped in how I support others and how I also navigate through my own life and bringing more acceptance into my own life, or those five different areas of life.
It's so powerful. And that's so important, you know, like as you're speaking, like for all of us to have that awareness, because that's literally the pillars of everybody's life. So thank you, Emily. That's very good. Yeah. One thing that Ananda touched on earlier, that I think it was also one of Keith's gifts to the world, besides, you know, bringing cacao back to us, but it was the showing us or empowering us to realize that there's no specific way to do anything, like to live our gifts. He was always reminding us that to be in tap with our own creativity, to our own unique essence. And especially that cacao, the medicine of cacao, wanted to amplify our unique gifts. That according to Keith, in the last conversation I had with him, he was saying, I think it was on a private session, not sure if it was on the podcast, but I remember this very strongly. Like he was telling me, like cacao doesn't want to be repressed. Like she doesn't want to be put in a box. Like she's like an expansive spirit. She wants to be felt. She wants to be explored. And she wants to give everybody permission to connect with her in their own unique way. And this is why he was telling Ananda, bring cacao to your yoga classes, to whatever is alive for you. Bring like most everybody, maybe some people here listening probably have danced to most ecstatic dances. Most learned cacao or taught cacao from Keith. So everybody has brought cacao to what is our gift, and she helps us amplify that medicine to bring it into other people. So I really love that because I think the ancient ways, and they had a purpose, and I think tradition is also important, specific containers, but other very specific medicines, they need a very strong container, like ayahuasca is like very specific ceremony, very specific something. But what I love about cacao is the openness of like how like her spirit is so playful too. Like it's like I just want to play. Like you want to make music, let's make music. You want to go deep into shadow work, let's go. Like you want to teach yoga and cacao, like let's do it. Like everything is possible with cacao. And I think that was one of the gifts and the permissions that I feel Keith brought back to us. And this is one of the reasons I feel cacao has gotten so widely spread all over the world right now and is like impacting millions of people's lives all over the world because of that permission slip, because of that openness, because that ability to connect with her in infinite ways. So just wanted to share that too.
Mhm.
I feel like there's just so many things flooding back, as we're speaking about Keith and his impact in this on the on this planet and in this world and to each of us individually. Um, I was just really feeling into like the potentiality that you were talking about, Andrew, and then, that, he really opened that door of like we can do anything and the empowerment that you were talking about as well, Jackie. I feel like I remember a visual that he would often give me, which was like all these rays of light going out in all different directions around me, and these were all potential choices that I could make in my life or different paths that I could take. And it wasn't that one was right or wrong. It was like, how do you want to co-create with what's here and available to you? And I really like that he would look at it from the perspective of our future self, like this most probable future self. Like, what does she want? What's the most fun? What's the most joyful and magical choice that you could make right now? And I'm just remembering and re-envisioning that around me. And that, when we have all those choices, because we do, when we really tap into our highest self, we do have so many options available to us. And our gifts become more apparent as to how they can be utilized to be in service to the whole. And I remember feeling like, I'm creating my own path through my choices and being guided by the divine. And that was something that he really instilled with that light and that glow of energy moving through. But also I remember struggling for a while with, you know, I can't just give over myself. I can't just say, okay, light, take over, or okay, God, okay, divinity, okay, source. And I remember talking to him about that, and he's like, this movement or the direction that you choose along this path, it is you. It's not something outside of you deciding on your behalf. It's like you already are in co-creation and co-collaboration with your highest self and your future divine self. And that being is there for your guidance and your support along the way. And so, you're not turning it over to that being, but you're trusting that that you're being guided without giving up your own personal power of responsibility. And so that really felt like a movement, a point in my growth where it was like stepping up to my higher self, like stepping up into that place that already knows and already is divine and already is the source of all that is, and that I can co-create with that expansiveness, and that is my part in the whole, that it's like my responsibility to be in my power. And I felt like that was something he really shared with me, like all these options that we have. It's not just sitting back and waiting, for the universe to say, here's a sign, here's another sign, follow this path. Those things might happen, but not unless we are in a state of readiness for it. And we're doing our practices and we're doing the things that will allow us to have more of a still mind and be more present and be more aware and more awake, so that when the messages come through, we're able to listen. And I just really am having this visual now of all these rays of light going out around, and feeling like there are just so many possibilities. And it was such a gift that he gave us, to enliven us with possibility and with the opportunities that we have. And after you shared that quote, Emily, I was just looking because I was writing not too long ago about some of the things that Keith had shared. And one of the quotes that I came across was around this kind of possibility or our potential. And he said, it's time to meet our most probable future with the most fun, joy, magic, power, expansion, light, and love. Yes. And I'm like, if that doesn't sum up Keith, it's just like, yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you. I mean,
Right.
it's like when we hear it, we know it, we feel it. So it's just not deniable. And I feel like there's so much within us that gets empowered through knowing that. And when we know that and we feel our own empowerment, then we step up to meet spirit and we allow spirit to co-create with us. And it's just such a divine blessing that he's been in our lives. And all these teachings that we're sharing, I really hope that they land in a way that, the people that are listening to your podcast have an interest or inquiry to go a little bit deeper with, because that's what he did for each of us, I feel.
Absolutely. Wow, this feels so beautiful. I feel like we're approaching the end of this conversation, but before we do the closing, anybody else has anything else that it's in their heart that's alive that they want to share? No? Yeah. Andrew? Yeah.
Yeah. Something that he would say that also really moved me, and especially moves me after his passing from the physical, was, and which I think is a good sign of a teacher or of a mentor for me. Like he said, like something like, I don't want you to be dependent on me. I don't want you to keep coming back. I don't want you to like be here all the time. I want you to come receive yourself basically, and then like go on and share and like, yeah, really integrate these things. Because it's when he passed, I was like, oh, I'm gonna miss those days on the porch, and it was so safe, it was so warm, it was so like enlivening, and it was so like familiar and just beautiful. And then yeah, just thinking now, like, yeah, that's in you, like that's in all of us, these teachings and those energies and those, again, opportunities or possibilities to create similar containers or shared experiences or frequencies. And it's like, by us stepping up to our higher self, it's like paying homage to him and to everything that he represented and represents, by like, yeah, carrying the flame onwards, because it's meant to be. We're not meant to be sitting there like in the porch forever. Like, it was
Mhm.
almost a blessing that he was like so much older, so then we could like really actually receive and really like actually integrate and then share from the overflow of everything that we got to learn in those years. Yeah, so that was really, that's been really inspiring. If my mind ever goes into like, oh, I wish he was still alive, or I wish we could just sit together, all of us one more time. It's like we can and we are, like, right now. This is
Yeah.
like what?
Yes.
So yeah, and what's the quote? Something like, when the student
It's
when
ready. No?
Yeah, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and then there's like a second part and then or something when the student is like ready, the teacher disappears as well or something, and yeah, like
Wow.
such a beautiful flow that he like flowed into our lives in like the perfect moment, the perfect way, and then just like swooped out, but like left a trail of magic behind him. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I love this. Oh, already feeling again emotional out of joy. Um, Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's a great pointer for everybody listening out there. And if you're in your spiritual journey, to like identify a good teacher. And I feel like Keith was that. Ananda, you've always been that for me of like, you have the power to make your own choices. Like you've always pointed me back to my own power. And I think what Keith came to show us too is like, um, to not become dependent of anybody. Like everybody here, all these teachers and also the medicines. I feel like even cacao, they're here to remind us of what already lives inside of us, the wisdom that's inside of us, the power, the medicine, the magic. And then it's up to us to become the medicine, to become the inner guru, to become that with everything that they have taught us, and not use either our gurus or our medicines or anything as a crutch, but knowing that they're here to help us find it and amplify it. And everything that we've experienced in front of our gurus, in front of our spiritual practices, in front of our the plant medicine journeys, it's just showing us this is what's inside of you. Like it's not like, it's nothing outside of you. Like if you're experiencing it, it's because it's within you. So thank you, Andrew, for that. For that, I love that. Anything else, Emily?
Yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. As I'm sort of sitting here in this moment and looking at the history going back, before cacao was really out in the world as it is now, it feels like this has been a movement. It's a movement, and it's
Huge movement.
a movement towards empowerment. And I love that it was, to reflect back what you were saying, just like the teaching of share this however you feel is your medicine. So that's why we see the cacao and yoga, cacao and kirtan, cacao and dancing, cacao and it's everything, and people are sharing from that place. And I know that I was one of those people that started to share cacao and feel empowered myself to share more. And to the people that are listening, just to know that that is the spirit behind Keith is to empower us all, and that the world wouldn't be experiencing cacao the way it is right now if it weren't for that. So I just feel very blessed to be alive at this time during the cacao renaissance.
Yeah, literally. We are in a cacao renaissance.
Yeah.
All right, I feel like this is the moment, like with this level of expansion and joy, to like end this meeting, this conversation. And I'm going to pass back the microphone to Ananda to lead us into this closing meditation.
Thank you, Jackie Chandrasita. Thank you to my dear friends. I love you each so much with all my heart. I'm so grateful for this moment together. Wow. Thank you, Keith, for joining us and for allowing us to remember you in this way. Such a blessing. I feel that part of our closing is really about the space of holding our own power and feeling that sense of empowered surrender. And my husband Kobe often says, when you're looking for a teacher, if you're looking for a guru, look to the plants. And this plant medicine of cacao is such a beautiful teacher for us to draw upon for that energetic alignment, and to be able to curate, our own work in this world through her love and her support. So I'm holding my cacao once again as I bring her back to my heart, and I invite each of you to do the same. And as we give reverence to this divine plant spirit medicine, and we ask for her support in continuing to find our own inner glow, finding the inner smile in our hearts and asking that smile to find us so that we know that it exists always in all things in all ways. And as we come back to this moment and to this breath, may we breathe in the essence of earth and sky into the heart. And let that energy breathe out into the space around our auric field, around our energetic centers, around our physical being. And breathing into that space of earth and sky again, knowing that we are empowered to find the truth within ourselves. And we can surrender to knowing that we are guided by spirit and by this medicine at this moment. And we exhale and we send that out to those around us, our loved ones, those we care about, those we think about, those who need our support, our help, our love, who need healing, who need guidance. May they receive this light. And we take one more deep breath in this way from earth and sky, our masters of connection and enlightenment and awareness, and we bring it into the heart. And as we exhale, we reach even further out to all beings. We send love to those we have difficulty with, those we feel neutral about, those we already love. Send more love to those we don't even know yet. And know that this is one of the greatest teachings that we can carry forth from Keith, is the essence of love. May we continue to carry this in our hearts, and may we be guided by the spirit of cacao to surrender to spirit and to empower ourselves to know that we have the ability to share love in this way, in our own unique way. And as we prepare to close this space, may we come back to our heart center now and just feel the essence of the light that each of us is individually. And know that as much as we share and we have put out to the world, to the universe, and to humanity, there is so much more. And it is endless, it is infinite, it is unconditional. May we feel that love in our hearts. May we breathe it in and may we trust it. May we trust the truth and the love and the light and the joy and the power of that which we are and that which we came here to be. We thank you, Keith. We thank you for being one of our greatest teachers. May you continue to teach us in the realm of spirit. May we continue to be able to call upon you, hear from you, and know that you are always with us. And may we know that you've given us exactly what we need for now. May we carry your teachings in a good way. With gratitude, we give blessings to this cacao, this divine spirit, and blessings to our teacher, and blessings to each of us individually and collectively as we close our space with gratitude, deep love, and a good amount of joy always. Aho.
Aho, namaste. Thank you once again, everybody. Thank you, Ananda, your beautiful medicine and your prayers, and your presence. Thank you, Emily. Oh, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, all of you, for all this wisdom that was brought in, all this beautiful remembrance. And I hope everybody listening out there can receive some of this beautiful medicine and some of this magic that Keith left with us. Thank you, Keith, for your beautiful legacy. And with that, we end the space. Namaste. Goodbye.